That night, amid the clinking wine glasses and forced laughter, my parents tore my new heels apart to teach me humility, while my aunt smirked, "Go barefoot." They thought I'd swallow the humiliation like always. But tonight, I brought a plan cold enough to freeze their precious family party. Have you ever been degraded by your own family in front of relatives? Watch what happens when the good daughter rewrites the rules with legal documents, binding contracts, and a power play staged right in the middle of their spotlight. My name is Camille Hart, 34 years old, and I'm the Senior Commercial Lending Officer at Meadowline Community Credit in Raven Oaks, Ohio. Last month, I closed the most challenging small business loan package of my career, a $3 million lifeline for a local manufacturing plant that saved 80 jobs. My reward to myself, a pair of limited edition ivory Louboutin pumps, the ones with the delicate ankle strap and that signature red sole that whispered success with every step. I should have known better than to wear them to a family gathering. In the Hart family ecosystem, I've always been the solution daughter. Not the pretty one that's my cousin Madison with her salon-perfect highlights. Not the successful one that's my cousin Derek, the pharmaceutical sales rep who never stops mentioning his six-figure bonuses. I'm the reliable one, the one who shows up 3 hours early to arrange the buffet table, test the sound system, and make sure the playlist doesn't include any of Uncle Bill's inappropriate comedy albums. My phone buzzed with another message in the Family Oaks group chat. Aunt Jolene, my mother's older sister and the self-appointed family social coordinator, had posted another passive-aggressive reminder about the upcoming combined celebration, her 60th birthday, and my parents' housewarming for their renovated kitchen. Remember, this is a casual gathering. Some people might want to reconsider their tendency to overdress. We're family, not attending the Met Gala. Madison immediately hearted the message. Of course she did. I scrolled up through the previous messages, each one a small paper cut of expectation. Camille, can you handle the catering deposits? Camille, you're good with computers. Make us a photo slideshow. Camille, pick up Grandma Rose from the airport. Camille, the venue needs the final headcount by Tuesday. Never, are you free? Never would you mind just assignments, delivered with the assumption that I'd handle it because I always had. Since high school, when Mom would volunteer me to organize church fundraisers without asking. Since college, when I'd drive 4 hours home to help with every holiday while my younger brother Tyler stayed at his girlfriend's family cabin. Since forever. The kicker was the money. I'd fronted deposits for venues, covered catering costs when "we'll pay you back next week" stretched into months. Bought decorations that were never quite right, but somehow became my responsibility to store in my apartment's limited closet space. My Excel spreadsheet showed I was owed almost $12,000 in various family-related expenses over the past 5 years, but asking for repayment would make me difficult. My mother, Deborah Hart, prided herself on maintaining appearances. She was the kind of woman who still addressed Christmas cards by hand and judged people who used printed labels. My father, Frank, was her enabler, wrapping his indifference in what he called good-natured teasing, but what actually felt like death by 1,000 small cruelties. Our Camille, he'd say at gatherings. Still single, but at least she's useful. The group chat pinged again. This time it was Mom. Camille, don't forget to bring your camera equipment. We want professional photos this time, not just phone pictures. I didn't own camera equipment. I had once mentioned taking a photography workshop 3 years ago. Somehow, this had transformed into me being the family photographer, expected to document every gathering while never actually being in any of the photos myself. Another ping. Derek. Hey, cuz, can you swing by the wine warehouse on Maple? They're holding a case under my name, but I'm slammed. You know, the one that gives us the family discount. The warehouse was 40 minutes out of my way. Derek lived 5 minutes from it. I set my phone aside and looked at the shoes, nestled in their dust bag like sleeping doves. They represented something more than fashion. They were proof that I'd earned something beautiful for myself, by myself. No family connections, no owing anyone anything. Just my own work, my own reward. The irony wasn't lost on me that I'd wear them to another family party where I'd inevitably spend most of the night in the kitchen, refilling platters and washing dishes while Aunt Jolene held court in the living room, regaling everyone with stories about her daughter's successful dental practice and how Madison just got promoted to regional manager at her medical device company. But maybe this time would be different. Maybe wearing something that made me feel powerful would shift the dynamic, even slightly. Maybe they'd see me differently, not as the default daughter who handled logistics, but as Camille who'd just secured the biggest commercial loan in Meadowline's history. I traced my finger along the shoe's elegant curve. 3 more days until the party. 3 more days to steel myself for another night of being everyone's solution while being no one's priority. The group chat buzzed once more. Jolene again. Oh, and Camille. Since you're handling setup, make sure you're there by 4:30. The rental company won't wait. 4:30. Of course, because my Saturday afternoon was obviously theirs to claim. I didn't respond. I was too busy admiring how the light caught the ivory leather of my beautiful, impractical, absolutely perfect shoes. The party was in full swing by 7:45 that evening. I'd been there since 3:30. Naturally earlier than even Jolene requested because the rental company had called about a miscommunication with the delivery time. The house smelled of my mother's signature pot roast and the artisanal bread I'd picked up from the bakery downtown, paid for with my credit card, receipt carefully saved in my phone. I'd just finished adjusting the string lights on the back patio when Mom cornered me in the kitchen. Her eyes went straight to my feet. Camille. Her voice had that edge, the one that used to make me automatically apologize for existing. Those shoes. They're new, I said, allowing myself a small smile. A gift to myself for, they're inappropriate. Dad appeared behind her, bourbon already working its magic on his volume control. What are you trying to prove, Princess, that you're better than us? Frank, I'm just wearing shoes. Shoes that cost more than most people's rent, Mom hissed, glancing toward the living room where Jolene was holding court. Do you want everyone thinking you're showing off? The funny thing about gaslighting is how it makes you question reality even when you're standing firmly in it. Here I was, being lectured about overspending by people who owed me thousands, in a kitchen I'd helped stock, at a party I'd organized. Come here, Dad said, his tone shifting to that fake jovial voice that always preceded something awful. Let's have a look at these fancy shoes. Before I could step back, he'd grabbed my ankle, not gently. Mom joined in, both of them making a show of examining the shoes while I tried to maintain balance on one foot. Look at this, Mom said loudly enough for the cousins in the next room to hear. Little Princess Camille with her designer shoes. Must be nice to have no real responsibilities. That's when I heard the first rip. The delicate ankle strap, pulled at an angle it was never meant to endure. Dad's thick fingers working at the leather like it personally offended him. Stop! I tried to pull away, but that only made it worse. The strap tore completely, the sound sharp as a slap in the sudden quiet, because of course everyone had chosen that moment to stop talking, drawn by the commotion. Jolene appeared in the doorway, wineglass in hand, that familiar smirk already forming. Behind her, I could see Madison, Derek, and at least 5 other relatives, phones already half raised in that modern reflex of documenting everything. What's happening here? Jolene asked, though her tone said she knew exactly what was happening and was delighted by it. Just teaching our daughter about humility, Mom said, still holding my other shoe. She gave it a deliberate twist, and I heard the heel assembly crack. $400 of Italian craftsmanship destroyed in seconds. The silence stretched until Jolene filled it with a laugh that sounded like ice cracking. Well, if the shoes are ruined? She took a slow sip of wine, eyes locked on mine. Go barefoot. The words hung there like a challenge, or a command. Around her, I heard snickers, saw phones fully raised now, the subtle sound of camera shutters. I stood there, one shoe destroyed and hanging from my foot, the other twisted beyond repair in my mother's hands. My beautiful ivory shoes. My reward. My one claim to something special reduced to garbage in front of an audience. Go on, Dad said, clearly pleased with himself. Take them off. You'll be more useful without those ridiculous things anyway. Easier to fetch things from the kitchen. My hands moved without conscious thought, reaching down to remove the ruined shoes. The floor was cold against my bare feet, old wood that hadn't been refinished in years despite the renovated kitchen we were supposedly celebrating. I felt a splinter slide into my heel but didn't flinch. Couldn't give them that satisfaction. Madison had her phone out, openly recording. "This is hilarious," she stage-whispered to Derek. I picked up the destroyed my shoes and walked to the corner near the sink, placing them carefully on the counter like they were still something precious instead of expensive trash. Then I turned back to the refrigerator, pulled out the vegetable tray I'd assembled earlier, and walked barefoot into the dining room to set it on the table. "Much better," Jolene called out. "More appropriate for the help." The word hung in the air like a toxic cloud, but I kept moving. Muscle memory kicked in. Refill the ice bucket, swap out serving spoons, clear empty plates, all barefoot on the cold floor while conversations resumed around me like nothing had happened, like the public humiliation of their daughter. Cousin niece was just another family party moment to be captured and shared in the group chat. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I didn't need to look to know it was a notification from Family Oaks, probably the video, already uploaded for everyone's entertainment. My feet grew numb from the cold, and I counted each trip to the kitchen like a prisoner marking days. 17 trips barefoot across that splintered floor while my family laughed and drank and celebrated on the foundation of my labor. By 9:15, I couldn't feel my feet anymore, but I felt everything else with perfect clarity, the weight of every slight, every assumption, every moment of being unseen except when useful. I made one last trip to the bathroom, locked the door, and pulled out my phone. The video was there in the chat. 37 views already, and Jolene's comment underneath, "Our Cinderella lost her shoes." I sat on the closed toilet lid, pulled the splinter from my heel, and took photos of everything. The torn shoes on the counter, my bare feet against the old floor, the broken heel, the ripped strap, every angle, every detail, all carefully documented with the timestamp visible. Then I forwarded myself the video from the group chat. Evidence. I left the party at 9:45, walking barefoot to my car while carrying the destroyed shoes in a grocery bag I'd found under the sink. The gravel driveway bit into my feet, but I maintained steady steps, refusing to give anyone watching from the windows the satisfaction of seeing me hobble. Once in my car, I sat in the driver's seat for a full minute, feet throbbing before starting the engine. The radio was playing some advertisement for legal services. "Have you been wronged? Small claims court might be your answer. Call today for a free consultation." The universe, it seemed, had a sense of timing. The drive home gave me 20 minutes to replay every second of the humiliation. But more importantly, it gave me time to shift from victim to investigator. By the time I pulled into my apartment complex, I'd already started making lists in my head. First, documentation. In my apartment, I laid the destroyed shoes on my kitchen counter and photographed them from every angle under good lighting. The receipt from Nordstrom was still in my email, forwarded to myself immediately and saved to 3 different folders. The original price, $847 after tax. Limited edition. No longer available for purchase. Next, evidence. The group chat video was already saved, but I needed more. I opened my laptop and scrolled through 2 years of Family Oaks messages, screenshots flying into a new folder labeled Evidence, every request for money, every demand for my time, every assumption of my availability. The patterns emerged like a prosecutable case. A text came through from my cousin Nora, the quiet one who usually stayed out of family drama. "Cam, I'm so sorry about tonight. I got the whole thing on video, including Aunt Jolene saying, 'Go barefoot.' The way they treated you was disgusting. Let me know if you need anything." I replied immediately, "Please send me that video, and thank you." The file came through in seconds. clearer than the group chat version, shot from a different angle. You could see my mother's face as she twisted the heel, the satisfaction in my father's expression, Jolene's sneer as she delivered her line. Perfect. I opened a new document and started typing, my fingers steady despite the rage building in my chest. Timeline of financial obligations, March deposit for Raven Oaks Community Center, $500 for anniversary party. April, catering down payment for same $750 May decorations and supplies for Memorial Day gathering, $340 June airport runs for family reunion. Gas, parking, time estimated value, $200 July birthday cake and party supplies for Dad, $280. The list went on, and on, and on. Then I started a second document, pattern of unpaid labor event planning, 15-20 hours per event, 8 to 10 events per year. Photography services, professional quality documentation never compensated, catering coordination, saved family approximately $2,000 per year versus hiring transportation services. Estimated 40-plus hours annually. By midnight, I had spreadsheets, color-coded, cross-referenced, absolutely damning spreadsheets showing exactly how much the Hart family had extracted from their default daughter. My phone buzzed. Another message in the family chat, this time from Derek. Hey Cam, thanks for handling everything tonight. You're the best BTW. Can you grab the leftover rentals tomorrow? They need to be back by noon. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened a new browser tab and started researching. Ohio Small Claims Court Procedures, Maximum Allowable Claims, Required Documentation, Filing Fees, Service of Process Requirements. Another tab, Emotional Distress Damages in Property Destruction Cases. Another, Contract Law for Family Agreements. Another, Venue Liability for Unpaid Services. My feet had stopped throbbing, cleaned and bandaged now, but the humiliation burned fresh. They thought I'd wake up tomorrow and continue being their utility, their convenience, their footstool. They thought the barefoot walk across that cold floor was just another family joke to be referenced at future gatherings. I pulled up my Apple Pay history and found the shoe transaction. The email receipt clearly showed the limited edition status, the final sale nature of the purchase. Then I researched replacement value since they were no longer available. Fair market value would be even higher. Some resale sites had them listed at $1,200. At 12:45 in the morning, I created a new folder in my Google Drive, Operation Barefoot Consequences. Everything went in photos, videos, receipts, spreadsheets, research links, backed up to 3 different cloud services. Then I opened my work email and drafted a message to my colleague Marla, who'd gone through a nightmare contractor dispute last year. Marla, hope this isn't too weird, but could you send me the contact info for that lawyer who helped with your small claims case? Having a property destruction issue with some people who owe me money. Thanks, C. Her response came immediately. Apparently I wasn't the only one working late on a Saturday. Oh, honey, what happened? Here's his info. But honestly, small claims is super straightforward. You can file yourself online. The real power is in the demand letter sends a message that you're serious. Want to grab coffee Monday and go over it. I smiled for the first time since my shoes were destroyed. Coffee sounds perfect. And yes, I'm definitely serious. The last thing I did before bed was check the family chat one more time. 63 messages since the video was posted. Laughing emojis, jokes about Cinderella, plans for the next gathering my parents' 40th anniversary party next month. Camille will handle the deposits, Jolene had written. She's so good at that sort of thing. I screenshotted that too. Evidence of assumption of future services. They had no idea what was coming. The good daughter was about to present them with a bill. And this time, payment wouldn't be optional. Monday morning at 8:15. Marla and I sat in her favorite coffee shop, my laptop open between us. She'd already read through my documentation, her expression shifting from shocked to impressed to absolutely gleeful. This is surgical, she said, scrolling through my 3-pronged plan. Legal, operational, and narrative warfare. Where did you learn this commercial lending? I replied. When a business defaults, you have to think strategically about recovery. This is just personal asset recovery. The plan was elegant in its completeness. Legal prong. The demand letter was already drafted, professionally formatted on my credit union's letterhead personal matter, but the psychological impact of official-looking stationery was undeniable. It detailed the destruction of property valued at $847, with replacement value now at $1,200 due to limited edition status, 10 business days to respond with compensation, or small claims court filing would proceed. Carbon copied to Jolene for the public humiliation aspect, emotional distress as an aggravating factor. Operational prong. This was where things got interesting. I'd pulled every contract and reservation where I was the primary signatory parent's 40th anniversary party at Rook and Thistle Hall, $2 $500 deposit in my name, cousin's baby shower at Meadowbrook Gardens, $800 venue, hold family reunion picnic shelter, $300 reservation fee, 3 separate catering contracts totaling $200 in future commitments, DJ services for 2 events, $1 $500 all cancelable or transferable with proper notice. My email to each vendor was already queued. Please be advised that effective immediately. I am withdrawing as the responsible party for this reservation. The new responsible party is name, reachable at contact. They have been notified of this transfer and the outstanding balance. Please direct all future correspondence to them. Narrative prong. This was the masterpiece. An email to the entire extended family, scheduled to send simultaneously with the demand letter, subject establishing boundaries and mutual respect, dear family. After careful consideration following Saturday's event, I'm implementing new terms for my participation in family gatherings. These terms are non-negotiable and arise from a pattern of disrespect that culminated in the public destruction of my personal property and forced humiliation. Going forward, my attendance at any family event requires a signed mutual respect agreement attached, acknowledging that any damage to my personal property will result in immediate compensation at replacement value, doubled if the damage is intentional. Advance notice of any requested services: photography, planning, transportation with agreed compensation at market rates, event planning, 50-hour, photography, 150 event, transportation IRS mileage rate plus 25-hour. No more informal financial arrangements. Any shared expenses require written agreement and payment within 48 hours. These boundaries are effective immediately. The era of the default daughter ends now. Additionally, please note that all previously made arrangements where I am the signatory are being transferred to the appropriate parties. You'll be receiving notices from vendors shortly. Respectfully, Camille. Marla whistled low. The mutual respect agreement is genius. It's legally enforceable. Doesn't need to be bulletproof, I said. The psychological impact is what matters. Making them sign something, anything, changes the power dynamic. Plus, if they violate it after signing, it shows pattern and intent in any future legal action. I'd even created a simple one-page agreement, clean and professional. This agreement acknowledges that all parties will treat each other's property and person with respect at family gatherings. Any intentional damage to personal property will be compensated at 2x replacement value within 48 hours. Any request for services will be negotiated in advance with fair compensation. Verbal abuse, public humiliation, or degrading treatment nullifies any obligation to provide services or attend future events. What about the vendors? Marla asked. Won't this burn bridges already handled? I called each one this morning, explained there was a family situation requiring a transition, gave them the credit card on file for the deposits, my parents' card from when they asked me to handle it, but gave me their information. They'll process the holds today. And if your parents dispute the charges, then they can explain to American Express why they gave me their card information to make reservations they're now claiming are fraudulent. I have texts asking me to use their card. Screenshots, naturally. My phone buzzed. The family chat was heating up about the returned rental equipment. Derek, where's Camille? These need to go back now. I showed Marla the screen. She laughed. They still think you're going to cave. They've got 6 more days of thinking that. The demand letter goes certified mail Wednesday. Email blast happens simultaneously. By Thursday morning, they'll understand that go barefoot was the most expensive 2-word sentence anyone in my family ever spoke. I pulled up my vendor contact list. Want to watch something beautiful. At exactly 9:30, I hit send on 8 emails transferring reservation responsibility. The read receipts started rolling in immediately. Now, I said, closing my laptop. We wait for the panic. It took exactly 43 minutes. Mom called first. I let it go to voicemail. Camille, what is this email from Rook and Thistle about transferring responsibility? Call me immediately. Dad, next. Very funny princess. Now fix whatever you did with the anniversary party before your mother has a stroke. Jolene, I don't know what kind of tantrum you're throwing, but this is childish. That baby shower venue just called me about a $4,000 balance. I played each voicemail for Marla, who was practically crying with laughter. The best part, I said, stirring my cold coffee, is that this is just Monday. They have no idea what's coming Wednesday when the formal demand letter arrives. Right now, they think this is about the vendors. They haven't even connected it to the shoes yet. When they do, then we'll see who goes barefoot. Metaphorically speaking. My phone lit up again. 17 missed calls. 53 unread messages in the family chat. I turned it face down and smiled at Marla. Want to get lunch I'm buying, with all the money I'm about to save not funding my family's lifestyle. Tuesday afternoon at 2:30. I sat in my home office with a cup of tea, methodically working through my vendor list like a general preparing for battle. Each call was perfectly scripted, professionally executed. Hi, this is Camille Hart. I need to update the payment information for the Hart anniversary reservation. Yes, the April booking. That's correct. Transferring primary responsibility to Deborah and Frank Hart. Yes, they're aware. You'll find their credit card is already on file from the initial deposit. Excellent. Please send the confirmation to their email directly. Thank you so much for your flexibility. Rook and Thistle Hall was particularly accommodating. The event coordinator, Patricia, knew me from 3 previous family bookings. Camille, honey, is everything all right? This is quite sudden. Just restructuring some family responsibilities, I said smoothly. You know how it is sometimes boundaries need to be established. Oh, I certainly do. My sister-in-law once assumed I'd cater her daughter's wedding for free. The invoice I sent her is now framed in my office. By 4 o'clock, every single vendor had been notified. The dominoes were falling exactly as planned. The caterer, Harvest Table, required a conversation with the owner, Marcus. He'd given my family a 15% discount for years because of my consistent bookings. The discount was actually for you, Camille, he said after I explained the transition. You're the one who always handles everything professionally. If your parents want to maintain that rate, they'll need to prove they're as organized as you are. That's very kind, Marcus. Kind nothing. Business is business. By the way, will you still be attending these events? That remains to be seen. The DJ service was even more interesting. Tommy from Soundwave Entertainment had stories. Finally, he laughed when I called. Do you know your dad still owes me $300 from that Christmas party 2 years ago? Kept saying you'd handle it. Invoice him directly, today. With pleasure. And Camille. That video from Saturday night is all over local Facebook. What they did to you was messed up. The video had traveled beyond the family chat. Perfect. Public humiliation works both ways. I pulled up the family group chat to check the temperature. 137 unread messages. I skimmed without engaging Mom. This is unacceptable. The venue wants full payment by Friday. Jolene. She's having some kind of breakdown. Should we call someone? Derek? Can someone just apologize so she'll fix this? Madison. You did destroy her shoes. Derek. They were just shoes. Madison, $800 shoes. Tyler. Wait. What, you destroyed her Louboutins? Are you insane? Interesting. My absent brother had finally chimed in from Colorado. I kept scrolling. Tyler, those were limited edition. You can't even get them anymore. Mom, how do you know about women's shoes? Tyler, I have a girlfriend, Mom, and Google. Those shoes are selling for $1,500 on resale sites. The number was actually 1,200, but I appreciated Tyler's inflation for dramatic effect. I moved on to phase 2 of the afternoon's work securing my belongings. Over the years, I'd accumulated supplies at my parents' house camera equipment I'd bought for family photography, boxes of decorations, a professional-grade cooler, folding tables, the good speakers for outdoor events. Time to reclaim my property. I drafted another email to my parents only, I'll be by Thursday at 10 a.m. to collect my belongings from the garage. List attached. Please have everything accessible. If you're not home, I'll use my key. Then I remembered the key. They'd given me a spare key years ago for all the times I needed early access to set up for parties. Another symbol of assumption, another tool of convenience. I walked to my kitchen junk drawer and found it on the ring with a labeled tag, Home. Not anymore. Thursday. I'd return it along with retrieving my things. Clean break. My phone rang. Nora. I actually answered. Cam, I'm at Aunt Jolene's. She's calling everyone, trying to figure out how to fix you. Direct quote. I don't need fixing. I need compensation for destroyed property and basic respect. I know. I told her that. She said you're being dramatic about some stupid shoes. Nora, have you ever been humiliated in front of your entire family? Had your belongings destroyed while people laughed and filmed it? No. Then Jolene can kindly shut up about what's dramatic. Nora laughed. Actually laughed. God, I've wanted someone to stand up to her for years. She's panicking about the baby shower venue. Apparently, it's $4,000 she doesn't have readily available. Not my problem. You're really going through with this? The demand letter gets certified mailed tomorrow. Jolene's getting a copy since she participated in the humiliation. The family-wide email goes out simultaneously. What about the anniversary party? What about it? You're not going. That depends entirely on whether my parents meet the clearly stated terms in the demand letter and the mutual respect agreement. They have 10 business days to decide if their pride is worth more than their party. After Nora hung up, I made one final call. Mr. Duffy, my parents' next-door neighbor, had witnessed me arriving early and leaving late from every family gathering for the past decade. Mr. Duffy, it's Camille Hart. Camille, I saw what happened Saturday night. You walked to your car barefoot, in October. Those idiots. You saw that security camera catches the driveway. Also saw your parents laughing on the porch afterward. Shameful. Mr. Duffy, would you be willing to provide a written statement about what you observed? Would I, honey? I'll notarize it myself. I'm a notary. Retired law enforcement. You know. I've seen domestic bullying before. And that's what this is. By 6 p.m., I had 8 vendor confirmations, a notarized witness statement in my email, and a perfectly organized extraction plan for my belongings. The storage unit I'd rented that morning would hold everything until I decided what to do with it all. The family chat had gone quiet, the calm before the storm. Tomorrow, the certified letters would go out. Tomorrow, the emails would land. Tomorrow, the bill would come due. But tonight, I poured a glass of the good wine I usually saved for special occasions, because standing up for yourself after 34 years of being the default daughter that was worth celebrating. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from Tyler. Proud of you, sis. About time someone taught them consequences. P.S. I screenshot the whole chat admitting to destroying your property. Let me know if you need it for court. Maybe I wasn't as alone in this as I'd thought. The mediation meeting was scheduled for Friday at 3 p.m. at St. Andrew's Community Center. Neutral ground suggested by my mother through a terse text. She'd received the certified letter Wednesday morning. The family email had detonated simultaneously, creating a mushroom cloud of indignation in the group chat that I continued to ignore. I arrived 15 minutes early, wearing a conservative business suit and my second-best heels black patent leather. Professional. a visual reminder that I could afford quality footwear before they destroyed it. The community room smelled of old coffee and disappointment, fluorescent lights humming over mismatched chairs arranged in a circle. The mediator was Patricia Henley, a volunteer conflict resolution specialist who probably didn't expect to referee a family fighting over shoes. My parents arrived at 3 on the dot, my father's face red with suppressed rage, my mother clutching her purse like a weapon. Jolene swept in behind them, wearing sunglasses indoors and radiating martyrdom. "Thank you all for coming," Patricia began, clearly already exhausted. "I understand this involves property damage and some financial disputes." I placed my folder on the table. "It involves assault, destruction of property valued at $847, public humiliation, and a pattern of financial exploitation spanning 5 years. "Assault!" Dad barked. "We didn't assault anyone. You grabbed my ankle without consent and forcibly destroyed my property while restraining me. That's assault and battery in Ohio." Patricia's eyebrows climbed toward her hairline. "Perhaps we should start with everyone stating their position." Mom went first, voice trembling with manufactured emotion. "We were just trying to teach Camille a lesson about humility. She shows up to family events acting superior, flaunting expensive things." "I wore shoes," I interrupted calmly. "To a party I organized, paid deposits for, and set up starting at 3:30 p.m. while everyone else arrived at 7. "It was a joke that got out of hand," Frank said, not meeting my eyes. "We'll buy you new shoes. They're limited edition, no longer available. Current resale value is $1,200. Jolene scoffed. "You expect us to believe shoes cost that much?" I pulled out my phone, showed the listing on the reel. "Ivory Louboutin and Peralta limited edition. Size 7, $1,250 actually, plus tax and shipping." "That's ridiculous," Jolene said. "Just get different shoes. Would you accept a different house if I burned yours down? Just get a different one." Patricia intervened. "Camille, what would resolve this for you?" I opened my folder, pulled out 3 copies of my terms. Simple, 3 requirements. I read them aloud, voice steady. 1 full compensation for the destroyed property at replacement value $1,250 paid within 5 business days. 2. A public apology at the next family gathering acknowledging the assault and property destruction. 3 signed mutual respect agreements from all 3 parties for any future family events. "This is extortion," Dad growled. "This is consequence," I replied. "You have options. Meet these terms, or I proceed with small claims court for property damage and explore criminal charges for assault." "You wouldn't dare," Mom gasped. "I have video evidence from multiple angles, witness statements, including one from your neighbor, Mr. Duffy, who saw me leave barefoot and you laughing about it on the porch. I have screenshots of the family chat mocking me. I have documentation of pattern behavior. Try me." Patricia looked between us. "The terms seem actually quite reasonable given the circumstances." "Reasonable." Jolene's voice pitched high. "She's destroyed our family event planning. The anniversary party is in chaos. You mean you have to handle your own responsibilities instead of assuming I'll do it for free?" I pulled out another document. "Would you like to see the invoice for 5 years of unpaid labor? $17,400 in event planning, transportation, and photography services at market rates." The room went silent. "I'm not asking for that money," I continued. "I'm asking for accountability for destroying my property and basic respect going forward. That's all." "What about the anniversary party?" Mom asked, voice small. "Rook and Thistle needs payment by Monday. That's your event, your responsibility, your problem. But you know how to handle these things." "Yes, I do. My consulting rate is $50 per hour if you'd like to hire me." Frank stood up abruptly. "This is bullshit. We're your parents. Parents who physically assaulted me and destroyed my property while your sister-in-law told me to walk barefoot like a servant. Parents who owe me thousands in unpaid loans but called me materialistic for wearing nice shoes I bought myself." Patricia cleared her throat. "Perhaps we could focus on the immediate issue, the property damage and the proposed resolution. Jolene pulled out her checkbook with theatrical disgust. Fine, I'll pay for the stupid shoes if it ends this tantrum. I don't want your money. I want it from the people who destroyed them. I looked directly at my parents. And the apology needs to be genuine, not performed. Mom and Dad exchanged glances. I could see the calculations: their pride versus their anniversary party falling apart, their reputation versus acknowledging what they'd done. We need time to think, Mom said finally. You have until Monday at 5 p.m. That's the deadline for both the compensation and for you to figure out your venue payment. After that, I file in small claims court and you can explain to a judge why destroying your daughter's property was a joke. I stood, gathering my documents. Patricia, thank you for your time. My contact information is in the demand letter if they decide to be adults about this. As I reached the door, Jolene called out, What about family? Doesn't that mean anything to you? I turned back. Family meant so much to me that I spent 5 years and thousands of dollars trying to earn your respect. All I earned was the privilege of being your unpaid staff. Family doesn't mean what you think it means. Outside, the October air was crisp and clean. My phone showed 43 new messages in the family chat. I archived the entire conversation without reading it. Tyler had texted separately. Heard about the meeting from Mom. She's shook. Dad's pacing. Jolene's telling everyone you're having a mental breakdown. Keep going. 3 days until Monday. 3 days for them to decide if their pride was worth more than their party, their reputation, and possibly their relationship with their daughter. I sat in my car and forwarded all my documentation to the small claims court e-filing system, saved as drafts. 1 click on Monday at 5:01 p.m., and it would all be official. The ball was in their court now, but I'd already won something important. I'd stood up straight, looked them in the eye, and refused to go barefoot ever again. The scholarship celebration for my cousin Emma was held at Raven Oaks Community Center on Saturday evening, 2 weeks after the mediation meeting. My parents had paid the compensation a check for $1,250 delivered via certified mail on Monday at 4:43 p.m., 17 minutes before my deadline. No apology came with it, just the check and a terse note, for the shoes. I'd cashed it immediately. Now, standing outside the community center at 6:45 p.m., I smoothed my dress and checked my shoes. Tonight's pair was rented from Luxury Collective, a designer rental service. Patent leather Valentino pumps with subtle rock stud details, insured for $2,000. Documentation tucked safely in my purse. The community center's main hall glowed with string lights I hadn't hung. The tables bore centerpieces I hadn't arranged. Through the windows, I could see my family mingling, my mother looking frazzled as she attempted to coordinate with the catering staff. I walked in at exactly 7 p.m. The conversation dimmed, but didn't stop. I felt eyes tracking me as I signed the guest book with deliberate calm, each letter of my name precise. My shoes clicked against the linoleum strong, steady steps that announced my presence with every stride. Emma rushed over, genuine joy on her face. Camille, I wasn't sure you'd come. I wouldn't miss celebrating your success, I said, handing her a card with a check inside, generous but appropriate. Full ride to Ohio State. You earned this. The MC, a family friend named Robert, was setting up the microphone. I noticed the projection screen wasn't working, the laptop sitting dark on the podium. My mother was frantically pressing buttons, my father fumbling with cables. At 7:15, I received a text from Marcus at Harvest Table. Final payment not received. We need authorization to serve dinner. Then another from Tommy at Soundwave. Hey Camille, your folks haven't paid the balance. System goes dark at 7:30 without payment. And Patricia from the venue. Ms. Hart, the family account shows outstanding charges. Per policy, we may need to cut services at the half-hour mark. I slipped my phone back into my purse and selected a glass of water from the beverage table, watching my parents' increasing panic. Jolene was now involved, her voice carrying as she berated some poor staff member about the projection system. At 7:25, Robert the MC approached me. Camille, thank God. Can you help with the tech setup? No one seems to know how to. I'm a guest tonight, Robert. Not working. But you always used to. Things have changed. At 7:30 sharp, the music cut out. The elegant background playlist Tommy had been providing went silent. The catering staff began efficiently packing up the untouched dinner service. The projection screen remained dark. Mom appeared at my elbow, face flushed. "Camille, please, just this once. Help us salvage this." "You need someone who handles event logistics." "Yes. My consulting rate is $50 per hour, 3-hour minimum, paid up front." Her mouth opened and closed like a fish. Behind her, I could see vendors starting to wheel equipment toward the exits. Frank pushed forward. "This is sabotage." "This is business. You assumed I'd jump in and fix everything, like always. But I'm just a guest tonight. I RSVP'd as a guest. I'm here as a guest. The whole party is falling apart. Then perhaps you should have planned better, or hired an actual event coordinator, or treated your previous free coordinator with respect instead of destroying her property." Jolene's voice cut through the growing chaos. "Stop being petty and fix this." I turned to face her fully, the crowd now openly watching. "Jolene, since you're so concerned, why don't you handle it? After all, you told me to go barefoot because I was just the help. Surely someone of your stature can manage a simple party." The vendors were now in full retreat. Marcus caught my eye and mouthed "sorry" as his team wheeled out the hot boxes full of unserved food. Robert grabbed the dead microphone, tapping it uselessly. "Ladies and gentlemen, we seem to be having some technical difficulties." I pulled out my phone and made a show of checking the time. "Oh, look, it's 7:45 p.m. This is usually when I'd be in the kitchen, washing dishes while everyone else enjoyed the party. But tonight, I think I'll enjoy being a guest." That's when I stood and walked to the podium. Robert, relieved, handed me the microphone, assuming I'd changed my mind about helping. Instead, I pulled out my own portable speaker from my purse, a small but powerful Bluetooth device I'd brought as insurance. I connected it to my phone and set it on the podium. "Good evening, everyone. I want to congratulate Emma on her incredible achievement." My voice carried clearly through my speaker. "I also want to address why tonight's celebration is experiencing difficulties." The room went still. 2 weeks ago, my parents physically destroyed my personal property at a family gathering, a pair of limited edition shoes worth over $1,000. They did this publicly, as a joke, while my Aunt Jolene told me to go barefoot like the help. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Several phones appeared, recording. I've spent 5 years and thousands of dollars organizing family events, always unpaid, always unappreciated. Tonight was supposed to be different. My parents agreed to take responsibility for their own event. As you can see, they assumed I'd cave and rescue them anyway. I pulled out 2 documents. I have here an email sent 3 days ago offering my professional event management services at standard market rates. Also, a mutual respect agreement that would have prevented this situation, requiring only basic courtesy and respect for personal property. I held them up. Neither was signed. They chose pride over planning. Then I connected my phone to the speaker and played 6 seconds of audio, Jolene's voice crystal clear. "Go barefoot." So tonight, while we celebrate Emma's success, we also witness something else: accountability. Actions have consequences. And destroying someone's property because you think they'll always forgive you, that has consequences too. I turned to the vendors who'd paused at the exits. "Marcus, Tommy, Patricia, I'll cover tonight's costs." I pulled out my credit card. "Full payment, including staff gratuity. Send the invoices to my email." The relief on their faces was immediate. The music resumed. The catering staff began unpacking. The lights came back up. "But," I said, turning back to my family, "this is a one-time gift to Emma, who deserves her celebration. The invoice for tonight's services, approximately $4,000, will be sent to my parents, to be repaid within 30 days. I stepped down from the podium and handed Robert the microphone, now working through my speaker system. "The venue is yours until 11 p.m. Enjoy the party." Walking back through the crowd, I maintained perfect posture, my rented designer shoes clicking with authority. I stopped at my parents' table and placed a business card in front of them. My consulting firm's contact information. Should you need professional event services in the future, family discount no longer applies. Mom's face was white. Dad's was red. Jolene sat frozen, her usual smirk replaced with shock. At exactly 8 p.m., I left the party, walking tall in my insured Valentinos. Behind me, the celebration continued, funded by my credit card, witnessed by everyone, documented on dozens of phones. The family chat exploded before I reached my car. I didn't check it. I already knew what it would say. The default daughter had just presented her final invoice. And this time, everyone had seen the price. The scholarship celebration continued behind me as I walked across the parking lot, each step measured and deliberate. The October night air carried the muffled sounds of music and conversation from inside a party now running smoothly on my dime and my terms. I stopped beside my car and turned back to look at the lit windows of the community center. Through the glass, I could see the shadows of people moving, the party continuing exactly as Emma deserved. My cousin would remember her scholarship celebration, not the power struggle that briefly threatened it. My phone buzzed with a payment confirmation from Marcus at Harvest Table. Then Tommy, then the venue. Total damage $4,378, including the generous tips I'd added for the staff who'd had to deal with my family's chaos. I forwarded each receipt to my parents with a simple note, due within 30 days. This is not negotiable. As I drove home, I thought about the security camera footage that would exist of this night, me walking in with confidence, speaking truth into a microphone, then leaving with dignity intact, no barefoot humiliation, no scurrying to fix everyone else's mistakes. Just a woman in beautiful shoes drawing a line in the sand. At my apartment, I kicked off the rented Valentinos carefully, photographing them from every angle before packing them back in their protective bag for return. Evidence that they'd survived the night untouched, undamaged, respected. The family group chat showed 214 unread messages. I opened it just long enough to post one final message. Tonight demonstrated what happens when boundaries are established and maintained. I paid for Emma's celebration because she deserved better than your chaos. The receipts have been sent. Payment is expected within 30 days. Any future family events requiring my participation will follow the mutual respect agreement I've already provided. This is not a negotiation. It's a notification. Then I left the group chat. Tyler texted immediately. That was fucking legendary. Nora, I got the whole speech on video. You were amazing. Emma, thank you for saving my party and for standing up to them. Even Mr. Duffy, who must have heard through the neighborhood network, saw your parents come home early. Your mother was crying. Your father looked like he'd swallowed a lemon. Good for you, kiddo. I poured myself a glass of wine and sat on my couch, still wearing my business dress, feeling the weight of what had shifted. For 34 years, I'd been the foundation everyone built their comfort on, invisible until I was needed, dismissed when I wasn't. The default daughter who handled everything without recognition or respect. But tonight, in front of 63 family members and friends, I'd changed the narrative, not with revenge served cold, but with consequences served at exactly the right temperature, hot enough to burn, cool enough to be legally bulletproof. My laptop chimed with an email. Mom had written a single line, "We'll pay the invoice." No apology, no acknowledgement, but also no assumption that I'd forgive and forget. I opened a new document and began typing Hard Event Consulting, LLC, Terms of Service. If they wanted my skills, they could pay for them like everyone else. If they wanted my presence, they could treat me with basic human dignity. And if they wanted to destroy my property again, I looked at my closet, where the destroyed Louboutins sat in their box, still broken but now paid for at replacement value. Evidence of the moment everything changed. The $1,250 check had already been deposited, earning interest in my savings account labeled Respect Fund. The next family event was Thanksgiving. The group chat would inevitably reform, the expectations would creep back, the requests would start flowing. but I had my template response ready. Please refer to the mutual respect agreement and consulting rate sheet previously provided. I stood and walked to my window, looking out at the city lights. Somewhere across town, my parents were probably discussing how to pay for tonight's unexpected expense. Jolene was likely crafting her victim narrative. The cousins were definitely sharing videos of my speech. But here, in my apartment, in my life, on my terms, I stood tall, no longer barefoot, no longer bending, no longer the default anything. I was simply Camille Hart, a woman who knew her worth and had the receipts to prove it. The ivory Louboutins might have been destroyed that night 3 weeks ago. But tonight, in a different pair of expensive shoes, I'd walked across that community center floor with the steady gait of someone who would never go barefoot again, not unless I chose to, and that made all the difference. Thank you for listening to my story. I'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop a comment below and let's connect. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts. Have you ever had to stand up to family members who took advantage of you? How did you handle it? Your stories matter too, and I'd love to hear them in the comments below.